Hello dear students, welcome on this online video or lecture. This is our third video lecture. In the first two lectures we have talked about the physical quantities, we have talked about units, and in this particular video we will talk about dimensions. And you are aware that we are talking about the very first chapter called unit and dimension. So here's a definition of dimensions. Let me read it for you and explain what that means. Dimensions of a physical quantity are the powers to which the fundamental quantities must be raised in order to represent those physical quantity. So it says whenever we want to represent a physical quantity in terms of fundamental quantities, then these fundamental quantities has to have powers on them. Whatever the powers they are going to have, the power will be known as dimensions of that physical quantity. To explain this definition better, example is going to be the right choice. So let's talk about an example and try to learn what these dimensions are having the meaning. Let's talk about a physical quantity, and then we will be representing that physical quantity in terms of fundamental quantities. Then on those fundamental quantities we will look for the power, and those powers will be known as dimensions. So let's talk about a physical quantity called density. Any physical quantity we can take, and this density, let's try to find out any formula that we know about a density. So basic formula that you know about density is mass divided by volume. So mass per unit volume is called density. When we say density, it's a volumetric density. Now mass is a fundamental quantity, we will keep it as such. So mass is there in the term of fundamental quantities. Our next job is to find to write this expression in terms of fundamental quantity. So mass is fundamental quantity, that's why we are maintaining it. Volume is not a fundamental quantity, so we will convert this volume in terms of fundamental quantity. We know volume depends on length, and volume is going to be basically length cube. Then next step would be writing these in upside only. So we will keep this mass and will bring this length upside. So this length will have power -3. Now this mass is also having a power, so that mass power is 1. We generally don't show, but yes, we know this is 1 power. So from here we can say we have written a physical quantity density in terms of, this density has been written in terms of fundamental quantities mass and length. Time is not there. If we want, we can also write time if we are interested. So time, what should be the power we had to write on this time? It should be 0, because we know if we place a 0 as a power of something, that becomes 1. So we have basically written down this physical quantity in terms of fundamental quantities, and these fundamental quantities are having powers. Mass has power 1, length has power -3, time has power 0. So the dimensions of density will be, so from here we will be claiming dimensions of density are dimensions of density are, one dimension is for mass. So for mass it carry 1 dimension because the power over mass is 1. It is -3 for length. It's a -3 for length, so length raised to power -3. So -3 is the dimension for length, 1 is the dimension for mass. And for all other fundamental physical quantities, power is 0, and 0 for all other physical fundamental quantities, 0 for all other fundamental quantities. Fundamental quantities. So this is the whole idea that we use to find out the dimension. So we write a physical quantity and we try to find out its formula, try to write all these involved physical quantities in terms of fundamental physical quantities, and we see what the power we need to raise these fundamental quantities up to make that physical quantity. These powers are known as dimensions. That's how the definition was. Dimensions of a physical quantity are the power to which the fundamental quantities must be raised to represent the given physical quantity. And we will say, just like I said over here, for corresponding to mass, dimension is 1, for length it's -3, for other it's a 0. Now this way of writing is a bit crude. We can have a better way of writing. Instead of writing these terms for the fundamental quantities, we can use a symbol for these fundamental physical quantities. And if we write in that form, so that's called dimensional formula. So let's say how these dimensional formulas are. So dimensional formula. So if we want to write any dimensional formula, what we need to do, we need to simply replace these terms by their first letter. So there's a particular way of writing. Like if we need to write density, let's take the same example. So we are writing the dimensional formula of density. That means we can write density. When we write density in this big bracket, or any physical quantity in this big bracket, that means it is talking about the dimensional formula of density. So this dimensional formula of density is going to be mass power 1 length raised to power -3 time raised to power 0. So what we are going to do, we will make this big bracket, put the m for mass power 1, then we will put length is represented by L power -3, and then time raised to power 0. So if we are writing in this fashion of this formula, so this formula is known as dimensional formula. Now this one power we can remove, because we know one power we hardly show, or even if you show, both will work. So it's going to be ml raised to power -3 and t raised to power 0. So that becomes the dimensional formula of density. So let me give you one more example to understand this better. So let's say another example is of speed, and somebody asks about writing the dimensional formula of speed. So we will say speed is written as distance per unit time. So distance is basically length. So we will say it's going to be length divided by time. So that's a formula. If we want to write dimensional formula, so we will say speed. Dimensional formula of speed is going to be equal to, we will be putting this big bracket, so we use this big bracket, and the length is upside, so it's the length raised to power 1, and time will go upside, so it will become time t raised to power -1, and which we can write in this term as it's using mass. How much power of mass is 0, so this is 0 dimension of mass, length dimension is 1, and time dimension is -1. So that becomes the dimensional formula for speed. So for any physical quantity, we can convert into in this fundamental physical quantity, then see the powers, then we can put over there. Generally we use mlt to represent it, until unless we are getting other physical quantities, fundamental physical quantities coming in, right? So this is the dimensional formula for density. This is dimensional formula for speed. Now let's see a couple of examples of dimensional formulas in the next slide. Now this table contains several examples of physical quantities and their symbols, how we denote them in general, their formulas and their SI unit, and then finally the dimensional formula. So let me quickly go through this to just make you comfortable. Just like this first quantity is mentioned as a displacement, we represent displacement by S. Sometimes we also use letter R for that purpose, R for displacement, and formula is length. We know that's length, so it's become meter. So the dimensional formula will become m raised to power 0, l raised to power 1, t raised to power 0, because here only length will be appearing and that with one dimension, and rest fundamental physical quantities will have a zero dimension. It must be matching with the definition that we have learned. I hope you are there. Similarly, another physical quantity, we take area. Area is the length into width, or we can say meter square is the unit. So we will say L square is going to be the dimensional formula. Rest will have a zero power. So L will have a power 2. So we can read it like m raised to power 0, L raised to power 2, and t raised to power 0. Similarly, for volume, we can go for m raised to power 0, L raised to power 3. And we can also mention here t raised to power 0. T for time. Similarly, for velocity or speed that we have just talked about, m raised to power 0, L raised to power 1, t raised to power minus 1. Similarly, you can talk about the momentum, but we need to know the formula for the momentum. It's a mass into velocity. If you know this mass into velocity, now you can convert this mass into this velocity into fundamental unit or quantities term, or you can get idea from the unit. Once you know the unit, that means you are using a kilogram, that's mass, meter, that's the length, second, that's the time. So we can use there to find this dimensional formula. Next, we can go for acceleration. So velocity upon time, or we can say meter per second square. So once we know the unit, it becomes easier to convert. Meter, that means length raised to power 1. Second square is the downside, so t raised to power minus 2. Force, it's F equal to ma. We can convert it into units or Newton, or we can say write in fundamental terms. So it becomes kg meter per second square. So kg, that's mass, meter, that's length per second square, that means t raised to power minus 2. Similarly, for impulse, impulse is defined as force into time. So this is the dimensional formula. For work, that's a force into distance, so Newton into meter. We can say that in Newton formula, we simply multiply by meter, that's length. So one more length will be there, that means L square, or L raised to power 2. So m L raised to power 2, t raised to power minus 2. Similarly, for energy and work, they will have the same dimensional formula, right? So there is just a table having some example in the book that you are following. There are a couple of more examples. You can go through them. Now, when you are going to study these kind of physical quantities, many of the physical quantity you might not be knowing. If you don't know what their meanings are and how that formula has come, that's not a big deal. That means that should not be a cause of worry for you. Now, what is important to focus on, if the formula is known to us, so can we find the unit, and if we know the unit, can we convert into dimensional formula? Let me give you one more table and talk about some more physical quantities. So here is the another table. Let's say we talk about a surface tension. You will learn later on what the surface tension is. The definition will go force per unit length. So once you know the force per unit length as a formula, then you can convert into Newton per meter, and then you can go for that. This is going to be dimensional formula, because for Newton, you know, it's ml t raised to power minus 2. One length has to be divided, so ml raised to power 0, t raised to power minus 2. So this becomes the dimensional formula for surface tension. So as soon as you know the formula, you should be able to write the dimension, this units and dimensions, right? So that's the surface tension. Surface tension is a force per unit length. That's how it is being defined. Why this is the formula we will talk about in corresponding chapter. Force constant of a spring, F equal to kx. Again, we can find out k. K is going to be force per unit length, so Newton per meter. Same formula will be there. Coefficient of viscosity is being studied in fluid chapter. So there is a formula. You can use this formula as a force is equal to eta, which is the coefficient of viscosity, and dv upon dx, v for velocity, x for length, a for area. From here, if you try to find out the dimension of this eta, you will be finding m L raised to power minus 1, t raised to power minus 1. And if you find unit, you are going to get, it's going to be kg per meter second. So once you know the unit, you can easily convert it into dimension. Gravitational constant, using this formula, F equal to g m1 m2 upon r square. You know F m1 m2 r, then you can find g dimension and its unit. Similarly, gravitational potential, the definition is gravitational potential is defined as the potential energy divided by mass. So you know the energy divided by mass, you will get the answer. Temperature we generally denote by theta, and it is written, its unit is Kelvin. So since it is theta, so we were writing m raised to power 0, l raised to power 0, t raised to power 0, theta raised to power 1. Right? We denote the temperature by theta, and some textbook can also follow a different notation. So whatever the notation is being followed, that will be stated to you. In general, we define this theta as a, or we use this theta as a temperature. If we need to write heat, heat is written as Q. Q is equal to ms delta T. This is the formula. You will learn details of it later on. And if this heat is basically energy, energy is joules, so formula is going to be this, ml2 T raised to power minus 2. Specific heat, if we talk about specific heat, so this S is a specific heat. Out of this we can find the S value, which is going to be joule per kilogram per Kelvin. So joule per kg is this. Kelvin, temperature will go upside, theta raised to power minus 1. Similarly, latent heat we can find out of here. So this is the way we can find the unit and dimension by writing those physical quantities in terms of fundamental physical quantities. So there are a couple of examples. Again, I am saying you follow the book, and there will be a huge list. You can just go through and try to digest the idea that we are using, writing a physical quantity in terms of fundamental physical quantity, then writing the units, then writing the dimensions. How the formula is coming, that's going to be the concern of physics that we will be learning in the future chapters. Fine, I hope it's clear. Now let's talk about use of dimensions. So dimensions or dimensional formulas are used in various purposes. So let's proceed for some important purposes or uses. So first use is this conversion of unit. So we can use this dimensional formula or concept of dimensions for conversion of units. So if we know a physical quantity in particular unit or system of unit, we can always convert it into a different system of units. Now how we can do so? So let's form some strategy for that purpose. So let's say we are having any physical quantity. Now we know for a physical quantity, the numerical value of that physical quantity and its unit, this product remains constant. That means N1 U1 is equal to N2 U2. We talked in the previous video lecture. That means for a particular physical quantity, its numerical value, its a unit, product remains constant. Now if we assume, let's assume that physical quantity that we are talking about has A, B and C. These are dimensions of that physical quantity corresponding to the physical quantities mass, corresponding to mass, length and time. So we are assuming that physical quantity which we are considering has A, B, C as dimensions for mass, length and time respectively. So if we know the dimensions, we can always write the dimensional formula. So we will be writing the dimensional formula for one unit of system and dimensional formula for another unit of system. So we can rewrite it as N1, that's numerical value in the one system, and it's going to be M raised to power A, L raised to power B, T raised to power C in the first unit of system. So we can say this is M1, L1, T1. This is equal to N2, the numerical value in the second unit of system, and for that dimensional formula will become M2. We are using the mass value and its power A, length raised to power B and time raised to power C. Now once we know this, and let's say if N1 is known to us, we can find out N2 out of it using this expression. So from here we can write N2 as equal to N1, and then we will have a ratio, we can divide this number. So if we are interested in n2, this number goes to go downside, so we can say it's going to be m1 divided by m2 raised to power a, then L1 divided by L2 raised to power b, and then T1 divided by T2 raised to power c. So that's a general expression that we can use to find out the numerical value in one unit of system if its value in another unit of system is known to us. So what it is trying to say, it's trying to say n1 is known to us, that's the numerical value in one unit of system, and n2 we need to find, so we need to calculate. So n2 will be n1 into m1 m2 ratio power a, L1 L2 ratio power b, T1 T2 ratio power c. Now m1 will be the mass in first unit of system, m2 will be the mass in second unit of system, and similarly lengths and times a, b, c will be known to us by a dimensional formula. So we can use this to find out our answer. Now let me give an example to use it so that we can understand how the conversion of unit can also be done using the dimensional formula. So as an example, let me take that example that I gave as a homework to convert force from SI unit to CGS unit. So let's say we have a force which is equal to 1 Newton, and we want to write it in terms of CGS unit. So this is SI unit, right? So we want to convert it, or the question says convert it in CGS, centimeter gram second unit. That's the question, let's say. So what we are going to say, we will say n1, the numerical value of one system is 1, n2 we need to find out. So we will say the n2, that means numerical value in the second CGS system is n1 divided by m1, the mass in MKS or SI system, mass in CGS system raised to power. Now we need to know the force dimensional formula. If you remember the table that we just finished, the dimensional formula of force came out to be mLT raised to power minus 2. So from here we will be identifying what is A, B and C are. A is 1, so this will be having 1 power. Then we will writing L1 upon L2. So B is again 1, so we will having this 1 as a power. Then T1 by T2, the dimension for time is minus 2, so we will write it as a minus 2. Now these 1 symbols are indicating for SI system, 2 symbols are indicating for CGS system. Now we can put the values. N1, the numerical value of force in SI system is 1, so we write it as a 1, or whatever the value is there given, we can write over here. Mass in SI system is 1, unit mass we are taking, so then it's going to be 1 kg, so that's going to be 1 kg divided by 1 gram, and here we will writing length as a 1 meter divided by 1 centimeter, and here we will write time 1 second divided by 1 second raised to power minus 2. Now we can calculate this thing. That's the 1. In the first bracket we will find this is 1000 grams, so first term will come out as a 1000 number, and this meter we know is 100 meters, so we will find it 100. In the last bracket it will be 1, and this unit will be in CGS, and we know in CGS it's a dyne. So we can say this N2 is coming equal to, that means force value in CGS unit is 10 raised to power 5 dyne. So can we say from here 1 Newton is equivalent to this dyne? So what we have concluded is 1 Newton force is equal to 10 raised to power 5 dyne. So we have converted unit from Newton to dyne by using the dimensional formula. So idea is simple, it's writing the dimensional formula, then using this formula and putting the value of N1 to find out the N2 value. And we can write these numbers in the corresponding units, whatever the units are given to us. Fine, so this is an example for this particular use of the dimension. A small example for you to solve, or question for you to solve, is here. So question that you are supposed to solve using this conversion of unit concept, and it says let's talk about this G value, capital G, that's a universal gravitation constant. You know this value is 6.67 into 10 raised to power minus 11 in SI unit, and I'm asking to convert it into CGS unit. So you need to find the value of G in CGS units. So what you need to do, first you need to find the dimensional formula, follow these steps and try to find out the value of G in CGS unit. And again, you need to answer this on the comment section downside. So in comment you need to answer whatever you are getting it, right? Now let's move for the next use of this dimensions or dimensional formulas. Second use of the dimensional formula or application of this dimensions is to check dimensional correctness, of a given physical equation. So if we have been given a physical equation, we can use the dimensional analysis to find out the or to check whether that given physical equation is dimensionally correct or not. So this dimensional analysis helps us to identify the correctness, and that correctness is dimensional correctness of a given physical equation. So any equation that is given to us, it has to be dimensionally correct. So we say a correct physical equation must be dimensionally balanced. So to check whether the given equation is dimensionally balanced, we can use the following steps. So let me a bit explain what this meaning is. So whenever we write a physical equation, any physical equation, or we can call a formula, has to be dimensionally balanced. That means every physical equation has terms involved in this which have the same dimensional formula. So we can say in physical equation, all terms on both sides have same dimensional formula or same dimension, have same dimensions. Let me write in this way, in short. So in short, I have written in physical equation, so whatever the physical equation we are talking about, all terms that are involved there, either of the side, they should have same dimensions. So we will say a physical equation is dimensionally valid or dimensionally correct if all terms which are involved, they have the same dimensional formula. And that means left hand side dimensions must be equal to right hand side dimensions, as well as the terms on the left side should have the same dimensions. Terms on the right side should also have the same dimension. This particular thing is known as principle of homogeneity. Principle of homogeneity. So because of the principle of homogeneity, we will find a physical equation has to be dimensionally balanced. Now, if a given equation is dimensionally correct, that does not going to mean that is also physically correct. So physical correctness requires dimensional correctness, but the dimensional correctness is not the sufficient condition to claim physical correctness. Are you getting my point? So that's important. That means it's a one way. Physical correctness will require dimensional correctness, but dimensional correctness does not imply physical correctness. Now let's take an example to illustrate this in detail. So the example says, so that the expression of the time period t of a simple pendulum of length L given by t is equal to 2 pi under root L by G is dimensionally correct. So we are not supposed to prove this formula. We will do that proof later on. Here what we need to show is that this is dimensionally valid. So here there are two terms involved. One is the left side, another is the right side. So as per the principle of homogeneity, we will be saying the dimension of the left side must be equal to the dimension of the right side. So let's talk about the dimensional formula of left hand side. Now if you write the dimensional formula of left hand side, you will find it is going to be of time dimension, and time dimension will be having 0 dimension for mass, 0 dimension for length, 1 dimension for time. Now if we come to the right hand side, so we need to write the dimension of this term. Now 2 is a constant and pi is a constant. These 2 pi will have 0 dimension. So there is no dimension of these 2 pi, and there is L by G. So we need to write this 2 pi under root L by G in terms of, let's say, physical fundamental quantities. So this can be written as, in terms of units I'm trying to write it, so it will be length divided by G. G is the acceleration of due to gravity, so it will be length per second square. So it will be length per time and square, and this entire stuff will have a power half as far as the physical quantities format is concerned. So this can be written as, length and length will get cancelled out, so it will become time square raised to power half. Time square raised to power half is equal to time raised to power 1. So right hand side has been converted in terms of fundamental physical quantity, which came out to be time raised to power 1. So if we are going to write the dimensional formula for this, so the dimensional formula will be mass raised to power 0, length raised to power 0, time raised to power 1. Now if you see the left hand side dimensional formula and the right hand side dimensional formula, so you will say the dimensional formula for left hand side is same as dimensional formula for right hand side. Now if we say this has a meaning, this simply says the given expression or physical equation is dimensionally correct. That means it is dimensionally correct. Dimensionally correct. Right? So this is what we can prove. So hence we can say this is proved. So point is, whenever we have been given any physical equation or relation, we will be writing all the terms and claiming or try to find out that their dimensions are equal. If they are equal, then that's dimensionally correct, otherwise it's dimensionally incorrect. That's known as principle of homogeneity, and that's a use of dimensional analysis. Now let me give you certain questions to you to use this concept to verify whether they are dimensionally correct. So let's say one is the equation in one dimension v is equal to u plus ad. If someone asks to validate or to identify or to prove that this equation is dimensionally correct, so you need to prove that this equation is dimensionally correct. So what you need to do, find the dimension of this term. This should have the same dimension as this term, this should have the same dimension as this term. Second is, let's say, writing the second equation of motion, ut plus half at square. Again you need to check for the three terms involved, and you need to see or you need to find out that these will have the same dimensions. Let me write the third equation, v square is equal to u square plus 2as. I'm writing this equation of motion because these equation of motion you have studied in detail, or at least to some extent. So you can find out the dimensions here, and you will try to prove that they are in they have the same value, whether you are writing for this term, for this term, for this term. So this is question for you to verify that these equations are dimensionally correct. Now let me take another example and explain something. There's out of these three equations, or apart from these three equations, there is another fourth equation called displacement covered by the particle in nth second. So Sn is equal to u plus a by 2 2n minus 1. This is equation probably you have studied somewhere in your previous classes. Here Sn is indicating the displacement in nth second, and u is the initial velocity, a is the acceleration, n is the nth second. So let me write what it is. It is explaining or expressing displacement during nth second. Now somebody asks you to identify whether this given physical equation is dimensionally correct. So one obvious point, since we use this equation frequently, or if you have not studied yet, we will be studying it and we are going to use it. That means this is physically correct. Since this is physically correct, then it must be dimensionally correct. But when you start to find out the dimensions, so you'll find this is indicating the dimension of length, and you will find this is going to be indicate the dimension of length time per minus 1. Then you may then it will be appearing to you that means this term and this term does not have the same dimension. Similarly for this, if you are going to write this, then you might find this is going to have some unit, right? Now you might also be surprised this nth is a second, then this 1, then that means the second and 1, they are not matching the dimensions. So whatever you are finding over here, that is because of one reason, that this equation is using some numerical value, and this equation is a displacement during nth second. Now if you talk about this nth second, this nth second is using how much time duration? So that is basically time duration is 1 second, and 1 is multiplied here in somewhere, so that means this 1 carries a unit of second. That means here there has to be 1. That means if we write this equation in terms of dimensions and units, it will be Sn is equal to u into 1. This is that one which is you carrying the dimension of second. Similarly, plus a by 2, and this is going to be twice n into 1. So that means this 1 is carrying the dimension of second, n is the dimension of second, minus this 1 into 1 square. That means here it is the dimension of second square. So second square into second, that's going on. If you incorporate all these things, then you will find dimensions of all the terms are going to be same. Now how and why I am saying so, you will be able to appreciate this when you are going to derive this equation, and that equation derivation you will find time difference will be used as a 1. Now if you write a dimensional formula now, you are more likely to get the same dimensions of all the term. This is displacement, so it will be having m l, let me write properly, so it's going to be m raised to power 0, l raised to power 1, t raised to power 0. That's the first term. If you write this, it's going to be unit of velocity as well as into time. Velocity is meter per second into time, which is second. So it's going to be meter per second, if I'm right in short, meter per second into second, which will ultimately get converted into m raised to power 0, l t raised to power 0. Similarly, if you look at it, this is acceleration per second square, and inside from you will get second square. So this will also get converted into initially it will be m l t raised to power minus 2. From the bracket you will find second square will be appearing. So ultimately it will get converted into m l t raised to power 0. So you will find all the terms are going to have a same dimensions. Moreover, these terms will also have a same dimensions. So all the terms in a physical equation have the same dimension. So there are certain examples in which it might appear to you that that's not dimensionally valid. Then you need to look how that equation has been arrived at, and whether there is some numerical value that is involved carrying the dimension. We know if the numerical value carrying the dimension is involved, then that numerical value gets multiplied and it does not appear, right? So we need to take care of it, and then we will be finding out that that equation, if it is physically correct, then it must be dimensionally balanced. Fine. So that's another example. Well, here is another example that will be using this property that we just learned. It says that the velocity v of a particle depends upon time according to equation this. So this is equation that have been given to us. V is equal to a plus bt plus c upon d plus d. Write the dimensions of a, b, c and d. So we will be using the principle of homogeneity. We will say we will be adding the physical quantities having the same dimensions, and we will be subtracting them when they are in the same dimension. That means each and every term will have the same dimensions, right? So that means dimension of v. So we write dimension of v. What is the dimension of v? So whatever the dimension of v is going to be, that will be equal to the dimension of a, and that will be the dimension of bt. So that is also going to be equal to dimension of a, which is also going to be equal to dimension of bt, which is also going to be the equal to the dimension of c upon d plus d. This is how we are going to claim. Moreover, we will also claim, since d and t are being added up, so dimension of d must be equal to dimension of t. Dimension of d is equal to dimension of t. So what I am saying here over here, that means when we add physical quantities or subtract physical quantities, they must have same dimensions. So from here we have got to know what the dimensional formula for d is going to be. Can we say the dimensional formula d is going to have m raised to power 0, l raised to power 0 and t, or simply you can call it as a t. So we got the d. Now from here, since we know the dimensional formula of velocity, this is meter per second, so m raised to power 0, l, t raised to power minus 1. So from here we can also conclude something, that dimensional formula of a is going to be equal to dimensional formula of v, which is m raised to power 0, l, t raised to power minus 1. Got it? Now then we can connect this v and bt. So we can also say this b and t, b dimensional formula of b and dimensional formula of t. Dimensional formula of t is t for time. So that's a capital T, is equal to the dimensional formula of v, which we have talked about. It's m raised to power 0, l, t raised to power minus 1. So from here we can find out the dimensional formula of b, which is going to be equal to, t will go that side and upside become minus 1 more, so it become m raised to power 0, l, t raised to power minus 2. So that's the dimensional formula of b. Once we have got the dimensional formula of b, we can use this. So from here also we can say finally for c, dimensional formula of c divided by d plus t, which is the dimensional formula of t. This is going to be equal to the dimensional formula of v, which is m raised to power 0, l, t raised to power minus 1. Now from here we can say t is going to go that side, so dimensional formula of c will become equal to t and minus t raised to power minus 1, they will get multiplied to have a 0 dimension. So m raised to power 0, l, t raised to power 0. So this is how we got the dimensional formula of various physical these terms that were involved, a, b, c, d. So a came out to be with this dimensional formula. Let me write properly. And b came out to with this dimensional formula. C is this dimensional formula, and d has this dimensional formula. So by using this rule, that means all the terms will have a same dimensions. If the quantities are being added up or subtracted, they will have a same dimension. So using this we can find it out. So this kind of questions are coming in the examination, so we can easily find it out. And there are a couple of questions based on the same concept on the books that I have subscribed to you, and you try those questions to have sufficient practice. Well, so there is a next use of this dimensional formula that is very important, that is related to deriving or forming a formula or physical equation. So that we will be discussing in the next video. In this video we talked about dimensions, its definition, how to write the dimensional formula, couple of example of dimensions, and then we talk about the use of these dimensions or dimensional formulas, or we call it as a dimensional analysis. And 2 points we talked about. One was to validate or to check whether a physical equation that is given to us is correct or not. And second, we talked about the conversion of unit. Well, normal order was different, but yes, these were the 2 points that we discussed. And third, use of this dimensional analysis, that is quite important, we will be carrying in this next video. Right, so this is what we discussed on this. If you have any question, query or doubt, you can always comment or call me. Thank you for watching. Have a great time.